Enough respect, kid. I mean, we network across the globe, cause it's a global market in case you didn't know. And since we all about information flow, let me be the first one to welcome you to Tech Zone with Paul Amadeus Lane. Let's talk tech, cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show, cause we live on air, yeah.
Welcome back to the Tech Zone. Paul Amadeus Lane, so happy that you stayed with me here on the show, and I hope you enjoyed our first segment of the show talking about a great event that the Consumer Technology Association is putting on for you bands and songwriters out there. And don't forget, you have to have everything in by 11:59 p.m. on September 1st, and that's Eastern Time. So if you missed anything about that interview, you can always go back, check out the podcast, check out the YouTube. We want to hear your music. Hopefully a Tech Zone listener or a viewer, wins that contest. That is truly amazing. We kind of hint about it in the first segment of the show about Windows 10, the be-all, cure-all for all operating systems. And it's no, secret out there about my kind of frustration when it comes to Windows 10. I love some aspects of it, but for some reason, some of my production software, kind of has some little issues with it. But the other day I was looking online, and a good buddy of mine, Matt Weinberger from Business Insider Tech Reporter, we've had him on before, came out with an article about Windows 10 and the update and webcam. So I reached out to Matt and said, Matt, I want you on. Let's talk about it. And joining me right now, tech extraordinaire reporter Matt Weinberger. What's going on, Matt? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, welcome back, my friend. So glad to have you back. I didn't scare you off last time, did I?
No, not too bad. I got over it.
All right, sounds good. So, Matt, when it comes to Windows 10 and some of the issues that people are having out there, what have you, found out in your reporting about Windows 10 and the recent update?
Well, so for me personally, I never ran into really any issues with it. With the anniversary update, came out in early August, added a bunch of new features, which is awesome, and a lot of them are really cool and useful. But a lot of people started having issues with it. At first, you heard about people, their computers started freezing randomly, which is like, okay, that's annoying. And then I heard about people who their webcams just stopped working. Their webcams would work for 10 seconds. They'd go on Skype like you and me are doing, Paul.
Absolutely.
And they'd stop working after 10 seconds, just image totally freezing. Also not great. And then just today, there was another report about PowerShell, which is a tool that IT departments use to manage their Windows servers. That stopped working for a lot of people too. So there are obviously some issues with this anniversary update that people are running into.
And Matt, what seems to be the major issue with Windows 10? I know even at the station, sometimes we get the blue screen when we're doing some video streaming. Could it be that we're not updating our drivers? What could kind of be the main frustration? Because we all want to dump on Microsoft. Hey, it's Microsoft's problem. But sometimes it can be our responsibility to making sure some of our drivers are up to date. And is that true in your estimation of things?
Well, to a certain degree, it's always a good policy to stay as up to date on all your drivers, all your antivirus definitions, all your system updates, all of that stuff. It's generally pretty good to be on the cutting edge, especially with new cyber threats coming up every 10 seconds, it feels like. So always updating is a good policy, just straight up. That said, at a certain point, it's not your responsibility, especially when you're running into things like the blue screen of death. Because you were just telling me before the show about how you're struggling with Adobe Premiere and some of the other stuff you use to put the show together on Windows 10, that there's really nothing you personally can do about that. That's kind of, at a certain point, that's up to Adobe to update their stuff to make sure it works on Windows 10 full stop. And it's up to Microsoft to a certain degree to make sure that their operating system works with popular tools like Adobe Premiere. You're not using some 2-bit thing that you found on the internet, right? You're using Adobe Premiere, which I imagine you paid a lot of money for.
Absolutely.
And that money should theoretically be going back into making sure it works right, but it doesn't always feel like that's the case.
And Matt, let's say if Microsoft or Adobe is not moving fast enough to get this done, maybe they may not even know what's going on. We as the consumers who are using these products, are there avenues that we can do to alert them and let them know?
I mean, social media is a pretty good way of letting them know. It's a good way of getting the point across. That said, at this point, I have to imagine that they're pretty much on it. The more you nudge them, respectfully, no reason to be mean, I guess, but
Absolutely.
yeah, people need to hear it, right? But no, so respectfully letting them know that this is a real issue, that this is something you want to see fixed, will definitely encourage them to get it done sooner rather than later. But in the meanwhile, this is just bad business for Adobe and for Microsoft and for any other software that's not working, right? Because Microsoft wants you to buy Windows 10. The free upgrade period is over. So if you're upgrading, you're paying for it, generally speaking. So they want you on Windows 10. Adobe wants you to keep using and buying Adobe. Other products too that I'm sure are struggling too. Same deal. So once they start looking at their balance sheets and things start coming back in the red, I'm sure you will see some updates sooner rather than later. And as far as the webcam issue on Windows 10, at least, Microsoft has promised that a fix for that is coming in September.
Now, September. Okay, so Matt, let's just say like how you and I, we're in the media business and we want to do like maybe a Skype interview and our camera's not working. Are we just done and we have to wait till September to do it? Or are there any workarounds that we can do to get a right kind of camera so we can do our jobs?
I mean, if you go, Microsoft has listed, I wish I remembered, but you can go after the show and look them up. But there are cameras that support the right protocols for Windows 10 Anniversary Update that you could go and buy. In the meanwhile, if you're really struggling, like if you have upgraded to Windows 10, you might be a little bit out of luck because you can Windows 10 doesn't let consumers roll back updates like the Anniversary Update after, I think, 2 weeks. So at this point, if you upgraded to Anniversary Update on day one, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But if you have the option and you want to downgrade to Windows 7 in the time being, I personally think Windows 10 is pretty great, but I would never judge anyone for wanting to downgrade to get their stuff done.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely going to go back to Windows 10. It was just like last week, man, I was doing some rendering and some encoding, and it just got stuck. As soon as I went back down to Windows 7, everything went okay. But I'm a big proponent of Windows 10 because I'm a gamer too, and especially like at E3, Windows 10 exclusive. I'm sure you heard that a lot. Remember Matt at E3, checking out the broadcast and my guest who I'm going to have on next segment, Tony Polanco. He's a gamer too. We always joke about Windows 10 exclusive. So we're hopefully that Windows 10 and Xbox exclusive thing, really goes off without a hitch, because being a gamer on both, it makes it kind of nice to have, a cross-platform, device that you can play your games.
That's right. And I think the other thing to keep in mind here is that when you're talking about letting it go off without a hitch, when Windows 7 first came out in 2009, it had some similar issues. I mean, think about how popular Windows XP was, right? And like how popular it is to this day. Like still, I think something like 10% of all Windows PCs are still on Windows XP, which came out in 2001. It's ridiculous. And so getting to Windows 7 in the first place, because everyone skipped Vista, right?
That's true.
But like getting to Windows 7 in the first place, you had a lot of those same issues in the first year or two. Windows 7 at this point has the benefit of having been on the market or been available for 7 years. Windows 10 is a year old, and it's a big shift for Microsoft. So I'm not trying to make excuses for them exactly, but I do have a certain amount of faith that they will fix their stuff, especially since, like I said, it's just bad business, right?
You know what, Matt, you bring up a very good point, because, I go back to Windows 3.1. I just told my age. Oh, no. But, Windows operating system kind of reminds me of the old Star Trek movies, how the odd ones were just okay, but the even ones were the best, like Wrath of Khan, the Journey Home and the Undiscovered Country, how those even ones were awesome. But it seems like with Microsoft, it's kind of the same thing. Now, that's where your conspiracy theories out there, yeah. But no,
that's actually a thing. Like when I was a kid, even my dad told me if Microsoft ever built a car, you should wait for the third version because the first two will crash.
That makes a lot of sense, man. And talking to some of my friends in the tech field, like yourself, one person told me, he said, well, the reason why we were, getting able to get the free upgrade with Windows 10 for over the last year or so is because we're beta testers. Was that true, Matt?
It is and it isn't. So with Windows 10, Microsoft did something that they've never done before. They called it the Windows Insider Program. They started in January 2015 they made Windows 10 available, like an actual literal beta version of Windows available to a select group of testers, and let them just test the heck out of it for months and months. So that way, when the final Windows 10 came out, it benefited from all that feedback, right? And the interesting thing is that Windows Insider actually continues to this day. So they've been so before even the anniversary update came out, it went through rounds and rounds of testing with people using all kinds of computers, all kinds of places, laptops, desktops, whatever. They were beta testing it for weeks and months. So then the real question is, like, with all of that testing, still, how did this happen? And there hasn't really been a good answer for that.
Absolutely. And if you haven't seen the article that Matt wrote on Business Insider, it's amazing. And Matt, great writing as always. And you know, Matt, what's funny, as I'm going back through memory lane now and I'm talking to him, having all this nostalgia, when I had my own consumer electronics company, several years ago, I was a Microsoft OEM. And I remember I was the first one to get one of the discs. I think it was Windows. It wasn't Windows ME. I think it was Windows 98. And I remember when I got it, I put it on one of my computers. And like you said, you know, when the regular version came out and hit the market, man, it was hitting on all cylinders. And is something else on the horizon with Microsoft? Are they going to keep Windows 10? Or are we looking at another Windows, you know, XXX coming soon?
That's a really good question. Back before Windows 10 came out, they were making a big deal about this is the last version of Windows as a service. The idea being that with Windows 10, you'll never need another version of Windows because they're just going to keep updating this one forever. Since Windows 10 actually came out, they've stopped saying that as much. So they haven't said anything different. They haven't said anything else. And they still talk about this idea of Windows as a service. But whether or not that means this is indeed the last version of Windows, who knows? That's a really big open question.
You know, I'm wondering if we'll get like a picture, kind of like the Last Supper, like the last Windows. You know, somebody doing like a satirical kind of drawing of it. Matt, we should do that. Why am I talking about it? We should do that.
I don't know.
You know, make all the money.
Man.
You know what I mean? We'll definitely do it. Hey, Matt, before we let you go, my friend, great articles that you've written this past week. How can our listeners and viewers find out more information about you?
Cool. So you check us out on businessinsider.com/SAI, where I'm writing every day, nights and weekends, man. You can also catch me on Twitter. I think that's my handle on the screen. And we're on Facebook.
Awesome. Matt Weinberger, one of the smartest guys I know in the tech field. Always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. And
thanks for having me.
Keep up the great work. And for everyone out there, if your webcam doesn't work, September cannot come faster. Oh, Matt, you know, before I let you go too, man, it slipped my mind. The new USB, what is it, the Type-C that's coming out?
Yep.
Is Windows 10 compatible for that? And that's why we're having some of the issues with the webcams?
No, it comes down to, so it's a little technical, but the idea is, you know how the Surface Pro and the Surface Book have that camera that can recognize your face?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they use a protocol for that. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. I'm blanking, but they use a protocol for that. So that way you can be using Skype and that camera at the same time. And it just uses a different protocol than the cameras that a lot of people already own. And if they use both protocols, it would cause some kind of performance degradation or something. Don't fully wrap my head around the technical implications here, but they just discontinued the usage of the old protocols because they said it slowed down using the new ones.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Microsoft.
Yeah. Great insight, my friend. And we'll definitely have you on real soon again, giving us this insight of all the things that are going on in the tech world. Take care of yourself, my friend, and enjoy your next week in writing.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. When we get back here on the Tech Zone, we'll have the Dominican Dominator himself, Tony Polanco, gamer, writer extraordinaire, joining us. We're going to talk about the new PS4 Slim, amongst other things. And we like to thank again Matt Weinberger, tech writer extraordinaire, Business Insider, for joining us here on the Tech Zone. As we say in show business, we'll be back in 2 and 2.